Good morning, everyone. It's 9:24 a.m. here in London on Sunday, September 23rd, 2018. Very wet morning. I was supposed to have gone play golf today. I did go to the golf club, but it was raining so hard that I walked back home. Don't live very far from the club. And got very wet. The time I was there. Billy's quite wet as well this morning. He's been out in the garden, but he's drying now. So I thought, I know it's still fairly early, especially for our viewers in the New World or across the pond. But I'm sure as I proceed, more people will come on. Yankee Gluck, what about the 39 steps? Not sure what you mean there, Yankee Gluck. Hi, Staz. IK from Dublin. Jake Jones. Calling from, on from Hong Kong. Great to see you, Jake. Good morning. Jake Jones. You're welcome, Jake. So we just wait. I mean, I was listening. I've been reading a few things this weekend. Hi, John Lord from Manchester. Hope the weather is a little better up there, but probably not. Tomorrow's supposed to get nice, a bit sunnier, but still a bit colder. Mark Stan. One thing I've been reading about geopolitics over the weekend, maybe some of you have seen, is the fact that in the U.S., the Trump administration, they want to publish these files, FISA court files, and apparently it implicates the UK and Australia, UK and Australian intelligence in this Russiagate and the dossier and the Obama administration. And I think that could be quite explosive. I mean, I go on to the mainstream media here, the newspapers. Good morning, everyone. Not me. Good morning, Antonia. Greetings from Norfolk. Good morning, Antonia. 20,000 silver contracts dump. Yeah, I mean, that's what the COMEX, that's what they've been doing for years, Yankee. It's just, one paper contract in silver corresponds to 5,000 ounces. That's gold futures. One contract is 100 ounces. I mean, I did trade some gold futures for myself many years ago. And I didn't, I had a fairly big account, but I didn't leverage as much as I should, I could. Because I know that leverage is a dangerous game. It's profitable as well, but dangerous. But back to the geopolitics. One thing I think is really serious is all this possible collusion between British, Australian, and U.S. intelligence under the Obama administration to try to subvert the U.S. election. Do you hear about that in the mainstream media here in the UK? If you go on the Telegraph, the Guardian, the FT, no, nothing about that. Of course, Brexit is huge right now because it looks like we could have get out of Europe without a deal. We saw on Friday how the British pound was hammered big time. So that's the most interesting thing to me that seems to be happening geopolitically wise. Economically, I think last week the big event, of course, was the Dow making a new all-time high. But don't forget, we also saw the 10-year yield rise back up above 3%. We closed at 306. So I'll take questions. All the questions you have about economics, the markets, geopolitics, and anything else that I might be able to answer. Where's the pancakes? Well, I had some boiled eggs this morning before I went to play golf. New Zealand gold. Good morning, New Zealand gold. I guess in New Zealand it's probably late in the, I don't know, let's see, It's probably about 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. I'd say in New Zealand. I'm not sure. Mark Stan, what do you think of Henry Dent's view U.S. dollar will be king for a crash? He sees gold drop 33%. I've said that before. Harry Dent doesn't know about money. He doesn't know about the nature of money and what it is. He always goes back to the 1930s and talks about how the dollar really strengthened during a deflationary depression. But he doesn't understand that back then the dollar was as good as gold. People use gold as money, and nowadays the dollar is fiat rubbish. It's debt, and if there is a deflationary debt collapse, how can the dollar be strong against gold? No, gold will do well. I disagree with Harry Dent. I know he's a Harvard trained economist, as silver doctors always like to put. Good morning, Brienda Sahai. Kryptonium, Mario, Electronium, ETN going to surpass every coin. I've heard about Electronium. I haven't really gone into it. I haven't really looked into it deeply, and I don't have any. Antonia Kinsley, how did fiat work before gold backing stopped? Well, it wasn't fiat. If there is gold backing, it isn't really fiat. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue that you could have a gold-backed fiat money because the government might force you just to use gold and not allow you to use silver. But a fiat money is more synonymous with a system where the government just issues through the banks and commercial banks, issues money out of thin air and applies legal tender laws to force people to use that piece of paper. Basically, fiat money, I would say, is backed by the power of the state to tax the public. That's what gives the fiat money some semblance of power right now, is that they're able, you have to pay your taxes in that fiat, so it gives it a bit of value. But even then, they've issued so much of it that that's also, that's not really keeping up. Mono TV, 3 cheers for Mario and Billy. Antonia Kinsley, UK intelligence is totally crooked and manipulative. I think the other thing about the intelligence is that the US, UK, Australian intelligence, New Zealand even, they call them the Five Eyes, and Canadian, what they do, if because it's illegal in our countries for the foreign intelligence services to spy domestically. So what they do, they use the if the UK government needs someone spied here by MI6, they'll use the CIA to do it for them because it's not illegal, and vice versa. So that's how it works. That's how I think it works. Greetings from Jakarta, Indonesia. Great. Zem 2022. Anonymous, bonds and commodities, are they related? Well, bonds are just securitized debt, debt instruments. Commodities are different. They're like I don't know, silver, wheat, bacon, anything that is an iPhone isn't a commodity because you got Samsung, you got other stuff. Phones are not commodities, but commodity is anything that is uniform and the price is always the same anywhere you go. So yeah, it is a difference between a commodity. A commodity is real and tangible. Bonds are just a debt instrument, paper, a promise. Price-wise, usually if commodities, though, are rising a lot, that's a sign that the currency is not doing well, and the bond prices go down and yields go up, because investors need to be protected against the debasement of the currency. That's how they're related price wise. Yes, I saw Ripple went up 100%. Like Bitcoin, Ben, I'm not getting involved in it because it's a banker's coin, cryptocurrency. JMC Carp, from Taiwan. How long do you think we have until a significant U.S. stock market correction crashes? I have physical precious metals, but I also speculate in the mining stocks. Yeah, the mining stocks haven't been doing very well, but the main U.S. market, it looks like right now we've broken out. The Dow's confirmed the S&P and the Nasdaq, so I think it could go further up. For how long, I don't know. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Litecoin hodl. Yeah, the cryptocurrencies, I have quite a bit of EOS. I have some Bitcoin. That's about it. What I've been doing as well, I've gotten some airdrops from the EOS ecosphere, so to speak. The other thing I've been doing through decentralized exchanges, EOS exchanges, I've been buying loads of these airdrops, more of them. They're really, you can buy, like, let's say 10,000 tokens of a project for, $20. So I've been doing that, all different ones. And with money that I don't really, spend a couple of $100 having 10, 20, 100, 500,000 of some tokens. I think it's a good good speculation. Most of them probably will end up worth zero, but if I put $20, it's not a huge loss. But what if it really, does well? These because they're basically represent applications. These EOS. They're not EOS tokens, but they're dApps on the EOS blockchain, and they could become huge. So that's what I've been doing as well. But that's my, that's what I'm doing for myself, and that's my opinion. It's not advice. I mean, all of you guys should do. If you want to get involved, you should do your own homework. Jake from Hong Kong, do you find there is a push to use less cash in your day-to-day life in the UK? Definitely, Jake. I mean, and I have to admit, it's easier. I've got like a Wirex card now as well, where I store cryptocurrencies. When I want to spend some of it, I put it into pounds. And this card is like contactless. So anything less than 30 pounds, it's quite easy and convenient. But that's how they get you. Does that mean that I'm for a cashless society? No. But unfortunately, they make it very convenient for you. But I still take some cash outs once in a while. But one thing that I was thinking this week, because I don't know if any of you heard, Alex Jones and InfoWars, they've been banned from PayPal as well. And not only the social media platforms banned InfoWars, but now PayPal. And I think that's the danger with cashless society, that if the establishment, and we know the establishment is heavily involved with all these companies, if they want to like stop you talking, if they don't like you, they can cut you off completely. And that's a bad thing. Maybe Alex Jones should look into cryptocurrencies, but some of even the cryptocurrencies are, kind of do the KYC, they need your address. So I don't like that either. So in the end of the day, I think I'll use the convenience of the cashless society, but I'll also keep some tangible monetary assets, and like silver coins, some gold. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But who knows? Who knows? I saw there's a new book by I forgot what his name is, but I think Rethinking the Dollar talked about it. It's let's have a look. Rethinking the Dollar. I'm just trying to find this, guys. One second. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I forgot what it is, but I think it's one of the Harvard economists. He's written a book about how cash is, bad. But they're trying. The Keynesians, they want to control everything. They hate cash. The Austrian free market economists, they don't. Let's see here. Albert Brown Fed is owned by bankers. Is the Bank of England the same? Well, it's like a hybrid, isn't it? The Fed is the Federal Reserve Board is a government agency. The regional banks are owned by the commercial banks. Bank of England is legally public or state owned. It's been nationalized, but I would say it's controlled by the commercial banks. They're the ones who decide who works and runs the Bank of England. Good morning, Kryptonium again. Housing. Oh yeah, housing. I mean, in the UK, I made a video earlier this week about how the 10-year yield in the UK has gone up more in the last month than in the last year. The 10-year yield has gone from like 125 to 160, and they price a lot of mortgages off that. I saw that in Manhattan. They've had the biggest amount of people cutting the offering price since 2009. I see that in Australia as well. The housing market is under in trouble. A lot of people are not able to refinance anymore their mortgages, and how Westpac, the biggest Australian bank, has been actually found to be giving fraudulent mortgages to elderly people. So I think, yeah, housing is not looking great, especially now with yields going up, not only in the US, but they seem to start being going up in the UK. Neil Scowcroft, my local RBS bank have been promoting digital banking for months. 2 weeks ago, local branches announced they're closing. Well, yeah, RBS is two-thirds owned by the government or the taxpayer. Yeah, I saw that Azure. Trump is apparently going to issue executive order to investigate social media companies. Stas Markovich, what happens if the dollar collapses? How do I get paid on my mining and marijuana stock investments? With a lot of dollars, with a lot, like in Venezuela, and that's how you get paid off. But you can just hold on to your business investments, which is what a stock investment is, and wait for the new currency. I think it would still be worth something. Hi, TNT TV. Thanks for TNT TV. Thanks for moderating. We should stop using PayPal. Well, I use PayPal, and if I stop using PayPal, I wouldn't be able to get my Patreon donations. I wouldn't be able to buy. It's easy as well to buy stuff. Uh, yeah, you feel like doing that, but they've got you by the I don't, cojones, so to speak. Uh, yeah, at the moment, I think my YouTube channel, is doing okay, and I'm not that big for them to want to ban me. So who knows? But I'm not. I try to cover more economic stuff, but the geopolitics and the politics is important sometimes. What will happen today, 23rd of September? Holy date for the Luciferians. I didn't know that. Ole or Olgi, Gur Olgi from Norway. I don't know. It's raining a lot here in England, Gur. Mr. Daki78, greetings from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Great. Someone from the Balkans. I guess that's where it all started. The trigger for World War One, Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, that area of the world. Gary Croft, I think the pound will take a second hit tomorrow because there is likely to be a snap election in November because of the handling of Brexit. What do you think? Yeah, I mean the pound. I was looking at the chart. Looks like we're forming a huge head and shoulders, and usually head and shoulder tops are quite level. This one is like this, which means that the latest shoulder hasn't even been able to get back to the level of the left, the earlier shoulder. So it's not looking good. Yeah, a snap election would be like really, I think, I agree with a lot of what Jeremy Corbyn says, but I don't agree with his economics. Very socialist. Do I agree with the current economics? No, it's very fascist. You have big government now too, but with the corporations. With Corbyn, it will be big government again, but more social. I just want small government and government to leave people alone. I want sound money, and but yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to get that, unfortunately. TNT TV says he bought some more silver. These great prices, SD bullion. Yeah, good. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys. I went 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was contacted by Glint Pay, and you can look them up. Glint Pay. And one of the guys, one of the viewers, Paul Abear, he might even show up this morning. He's working for them now, and he contacted me, and I went up to London to meet them. I met with them for 2 hours, and it was a really good meeting. And what Glint Pay does, they have this card, and I'll put my hand over it. The Glint card is like a debit card that you can store. Right now, it's only available in the EU, but you can store gold in it. They keep your gold in a vault in Switzerland. It's all audited. And I went to meet them because they want me to collaborate with them. Am I saying that I'm going to put all my gold with them and not have physical gold? No. But what the Glint objective eventually is so, that people can actually spend in gold, because a lot of people say, oh, gold is no good because it's not money. But with the Glint card, you'll be able to spend it. And I think they're coming to the USA as well soon. So I'm going to be working with them, and I'm going to be like an influencer who how can I say, I'll be supporting them, kind of, and I will have a referral link to the Glint card, to the Glint app. And if you sign up through me, you're going to get a discount to get the Glint card. So I'll be, how can I say, yeah, I'll be one of their spokesperson. And I think it fits in with my channel because they're for sound. I spoke to these guys, they worked all in the city, but they're on the same wavelength as I am. They believe in sound money. They believe in gold. And I think it's going to be probably interesting. So I haven't really finalized the deal yet, but pretty soon I'll be putting the link in the descriptions. YouTube Clash, I think that's is that like a troll? Let's remove him. I don't know who that guy is. Jefferson Humber says, I'm so impressed with Glint. I was impressed with them as well. I went up to their offices in the city, and I can tell you they're for real, in my opinion. Am I saying? But I told them, I'm not. I'm gonna tell it like it is. I prefer physical gold and silver, but I don't mind having. How can I say? Gold, being able to spend it. So YouTube Clash. Uh, Try to remove this guy. Okay. Yeah, Jake, I think it's a good idea. And right now, Glint is only in the EU and the UK, but I can tell you they're thinking a lot more worldwide or globally. TNT TV, it's not really like it's different than gold money, because gold money, you're not really spending your gold. You have to like first sell the gold and put it into your fiat. This one, you can just leave it in gold and spend the gold, and they'll do the exchange, when you spend the gold. The other thing they want to do is they want you, if I'm not going to talk about what they want to do in the future, I'm not supposed to, but it's going to be very interesting. So I'm going to be like a one of their first people, influencers that they have contacted. And yeah. And the other thing is they're not pushy. They like my way of thinking as well. So that's Glint. So I'm sure you'll hear more about it very soon through my videos as well. Oliver Bristol, Glint seems to be a good way of retaining the liquidity of cash. That's right. A lot of people complain, as I said, oh, why have gold? You can't spend gold. But you will now be able to spend gold through Glint, which is great. And yeah, you have to trust them. And I went there, met them. I know the guy the co-founder. I've known him for a long time. He's still involved in a fund called Hind Fund. He used to work in the city. I've met him before at a gold conference years ago, and yeah, I endorse them. Aaron Levy said, "Gur Oji, good salesman, very good to talk. I'm impressed with." Well, of course, but they actually, I sat with four guys in the room, and they seem to know about my channel. They've been watching me, so that's a good sign. Anyway, let's move on. Aaron Levy, as you say, the more trolls you get and people spamming, the better a sign it probably is. A double-edged sword. That's right. Glint Eastwood. Glint. Well, Antonia, gotta go. You're welcome. Take care. Have a great day. So, economics. Let's see. Hobnet. Good morning. Can you please predict the main global economic geopolitical events happening next chronologically? Well, geopolitically, I think the biggest thing going on right now is the battle in the states between the Trump administration and the deep state. Maybe what's going on in Syria and then the U.S., China, and Russia. and Iran. Economically, I think interest rates are very important. I think the economies are starting to slow down, and interest rates are going to do it. What else? I mean, yeah, that's what I think is happening. As for investments, I stick to my investment, or being protected by precious metals. I do have some cryptocurrency. I don't play the stock market, so that's hopefully that helps. Hey, over here, surprise! Yeah, I went to play golf this morning around 7:30. My tee off was at just after 8. But it was raining so much that a lot of people, we had a competition, but a lot of people walked back. I walked back home. It was just too wet, so I came back home, dried up a little bit, and I decided to do a live stream. We're gonna have some people over for Sunday lunch later, so I thought it would be a good time. But I'll stay. I've only been here for 30 minutes, so I'll be here for a while longer. You can't catch everyone at the same time. Uh, I was looking, of course, the majority of my viewers are actually from the US, about 55%, and then the UK, about 15%, and then Canada, Australia, and even Netherlands. So it's difficult to always get the right time. I'm 5 hours ahead, I guess, of the East Coast and 8 hours ahead of the West Coast. And in the US itself, you can see the YouTube statistics, the demographics. Uh, the bulk of my viewers in the US are from California, and then I think New York, Florida, all the bigger states. So yeah, of course, people are going to be asleep at the moment. TNT TV. Yeah, I mean, I think it could hit 20, very easily hit 27,000 a Dow. It's nothing. We could hit it before the market opens on Monday on the futures pre trading. Aaron Levy, I'm actually getting worried that a 2,500 point drop in the Dow is coming. Yeah, that's possible. Like a flash crash, make things interesting. I think there's a lot of complacency right now. TNT TV is in Oregon, so and he's awake. Sash Media One, hi Sash Media One. So the other thing that I saw in the news, Zero Hedge, is about how I think China bought some uh, warplanes from Russia, and the Americans are going to sanction China for that. And now China is very upset, and it could disrupt all the trade wars. There's a lot going on that could, hurt things. I miss Nick from Nashville. Hi, I miss Nick. So let's see. Yeah, the headline is "A Path to War?" question mark. China cancels U.S. trade talks as skirmish escalates. Everything the U.S. does hasn't given any impression of sincerity and goodwill. We hope that the U.S. side will take the measures to correct its mistake. That's what the Chinese said. Um, uh, HubNet. Are Chinese Russian banks under Rothschild's control, or are they totally separate, isolated banking systems? Um, the thing is, the Rothschild name is brought up a lot, that they control everything. Um, and I think they're more influencers than controllers. But I would say the Russian banks are not under Western control. The Chinese probably. Aaron Levy, the deep state perp walk is coming. Dr. Dave Janda, I listen to him a lot. Yeah, we've been waiting for that. I also was just listening to my wife listen to Greg Hunter. I think he interviewed Mark Taylor. He has some interesting things to say as well. TNT, have you heard of Guy Stansbury's research? Steve Shujarud, he came out with a new video talking about how this bull market will melt up to 40,000 or higher. That would be similar to Japan's. I haven't seen that. I've heard of Stansbury research. It's funny because when I worked in the city, it was actually one of my clients who worked for a big bank who told me about Stansbury research. Tanya Silva from Brazil, I assume. Over here, simply ask folks what to do. They think of the economy. No opinion, give no opposing view. Yeah, I saw that Dave Janda did an interview with Dave, isn't it, from the X22 report. What about like for the UK? I think things are not looking great. The pounds continue, has turned around this week. It had been rising recently, but I think it's set to fall hard again. The Brexit situation doesn't help. Interest rates are starting to rise in the UK. Not the Bank of England rate, but the 10-year yield, for example, has risen from about 125 to about this week it got up to 162. In the last month, it's done that. It did close at 155, but what that will do, higher yields, is that it's going to make mortgages more expensive, borrowing more expensive. Over here, ask who is Mark Taylor. I'm not sure, but he's written a book, I think, The Trump Prophecy. So yeah, check out Greg Hunter. He interviewed. That's his last interview. MRJI78. Hi, MRJ. He's from Dublin. Peter Oitzinger, would a hard Brexit be best for Britain? I think so, but the establishment is trying to play it as if it won't be good for Britain. But the other thing, though, that I think could be bad for Britain is that there's a lot of talk about this Pfizer report that they want redacted, that Australian and UK intelligence were involved with the Obama administration in trying to subvert the election of Donald Trump. And can you imagine, UK leaves the EU with no deal and then tries to how will they be able to negotiate with the US if that's going on? So I don't know. It's a mess, I would say. It's a mess. Now there's talk that there will be a snap general election this year, November. There's talk. I saw that there's a lot of people in the Labour Party now saying that they want a second referendum. So it's a big mess, a big mess. Yeah, the dollar index is looking toppish. I don't know if it will rocket back up to 115, 120. I mean, 120 was I think the last time we saw that was in the early 2000s. Right now, yeah, it looks like it's forming a head and shoulder. Yeah. Some believe a Fed rate cut in the future. You mean if they start cutting again? Well, some people argue that they've been raising rates since 2015 just to get back to a level where if there is another crisis, they'd be able to cut. And I heard someone talking about as well the Fed minutes and how Jerome Powell wants to raise rates to a neutral level, basically have the Fed fund rates be equal to their core, their CPI or inflation measures, which, in my opinion, I think are bogus anyway. But right now, it's running at 2%, maybe 3%. So they want to get rates back up to around 2.5 to make it neutral. I think that would bring everything down, the economy. The biggest problem as well for the US economy I see in the next 15 months or so, or 12 months, is that the fiscal year starts in October, and the Fed is going to be selling 600 billion off their balance sheet. It's quantitative tightening. But at the same time, the US is going to be running a $2 trillion budget deficit. So who's going to be, how are you going to attract people to buy or to refinance all that or finance the new debt or deficit? Well, the only way you can do that is through higher interest rates. It could get ugly. They won't be able to get the Fed funds rate to 3%. Well, they could, they're meeting, I think, uh, 26, so 24. I think on Wednesday they're meeting, and they're going to raise rates, by a quarter. They could very well raise it straight to 3% on Wednesday. So it would be disruptive, but I think they can get it. They might be looking to do that. Norbert Chong, riots will happen if they have another Brexit vote. Probably. Maybe that's what they want. Who knows? Well, the Fed's talking about raise. They're going to raise. It's a done deal. They're going to raise to from 1.7, because the rate now is 1.75 to 2%. They're going to raise to 2% this week, 2 to 2.25. They'll probably raise again in December, 2.25 to 2.50, and they're going to probably raise one or two more times next year. So it will be like 2.75 to 3. I think they're looking to do that. Jazz Atwell, UKIP is the way forward. Yeah, I mean, UKIP has a lot of support, but when you have general elections, they hardly get any seats, mainly because of the way the constituencies are set up. MRJI 78. Yeah, I don't know why he's holding off these indictments. Apparently, there's thousands of them, so they want to make sure that they do it properly, so that the case doesn't, fail on a technicality. But who knows? Well, jazz, yeah, the UK doesn't have proportional representation. Yeah, the downside to that is that you get like you never get anything done like in Europe. But I think the whole problem is political parties. Uh, I think MPs or public, politicians, they should be independent. Political parties are the big. If you could ban political parties, that would be a good thing, so that you elect someone just to represent your constituency. Yeah, a bit like Ron Paul. I know he used to be a Republican, but he was kind of independent. I think political parties are at the heart of the problem. over here, they are predicting a big Christmas retail season in the US. Does that mean we're not in a recession? Who do you mean by they over here? It could be CNBC and Bloomberg, the mainstream. But yeah, CD rates, but are becoming attractive. The thing with CD rates, I guess, and you put your money with Treasury bills, they are becoming more attractive, almost 2.5, 3%. But is the cost of living really going up just by 2 or 3%? But I guess it's better than zero, like we have in Europe. Peter Oettinger, I don't know about that. The English Defense League. I'm not sure if they're gaining support or anything. Hey, Bugsy, New York in the house. Morning, Bugsy. 5:11 a.m. in Queens. Over here, are there any young up-and-coming political leader out there that you're following? Here in the UK, the only guy that I heard about that makes sense, who's a sound money proponent, actually. He's an MP. He's called Stephen Baker. He's a sound money proponent, but he's a lone wolf. In the US, I'm not really following, too much the political situation. I mean, I would say Rand Paul. I guess he's not that young anymore, but I think he could be kind of the future for the Republicans. Aaron Levy, Greg Manarino makes an excellent point in that if you put your cash in U.S. Treasuries, the real rate of return is negative. Yeah, that's right. The real rate is negative. The other thing as well that you do by putting your money with in the U.S. government or even CDs or Wall Street is that you're financing this corrupt system. That's the way I look at it. I want to keep as much as I can out of their reach, because they basically take your energy, your wealth, and they kind of leverage it off you and make it worth even less. And if you want to take that risk, that's fine, but I don't want to. Oliver Bristol, UK Libertarian Party exists but has no traction. Funny you should say that. I have a book here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah. It's this one here. Dispatches from a Dying Country, Reflections of Modern England by Sean Gabb. And I went, I think he was the leader of the Libertarian Party, and he had like a conference, a speech he did in central London years ago. It was probably 2004 or 5. And I wasn't, I like libertarianism, and I went to it. And the funny thing is that guess who was there at this meeting? It was near the Mall in London. If you know London, the Mall is near Buckingham Palace. There's like conference rooms there, and I went to this. It was in the evening after work, and he was talking about this book, libertarianism, and guess who was there? Boris Johnson, and he spoke, and he came across as a buffoon to me. Even back then, there was some, I think, Samuel Britton, who's an economist, and the brother of Leon Britton. He was there, and I went up. Yeah, Billy looks comfy. He's kind of wet because it's raining today. So I went up to, after the speeches and the conference ended. It was in the hall. I went up to Samuel Britton and I took out a 20-pound note. Because already back then, 2003 and 4, I realized that the system was a scam. the monetary system. And I showed him, the promise to pay the bearer thing on the Bank of England note. And I said, they've got nothing. If you go to the Bank of England, they just give you a new one. It's backed by nothing. Don't you think that's a problem? And he looked at me and said, it's like, forget it. he didn't he didn't have an argument. So Samuel Britton, of course, he's a famous economist here, writes for the FT, but he's a Keynesian. And lo and behold, a few years later, the system did implode. So, but yeah, what does this book? This is an interesting book. Reflections on Modern England, Dispatches from a Dying Country. And Sean Gabb, I think, yeah, he's says, Dispatch from a Dying Country is an acerbic account of the gradual deconstruction of the essentially liberal traditions of England, a country that the author argues and documents is moving ever closer to a police state. England is becoming a nation of serfs under surveillance, harried for their own alleged good by governments and special interests that make use of assorted moral panics establish their hegemony. This book was written in 2001. This guy was right. So yeah, they're not strong, the Libertarian Party in the UK. I don't know why. So, but they're not strong really everywhere, I would say. Maybe a bit more stronger in the US. Over here, how and why are you so informative on the US Constitution? Well, I went to, when I was about 13, I went to, my parents put me at the American school in Rio, in Brazil, called Escola Americana. So I went there in 8th grade, and then I did my high school degree there. And so it was also in Portuguese. I had Portuguese lessons as well because of being Brazil. But basically, I went to an American high school in Brazil, and they taught a lot about U.S. history. And I've always been fascinated by U.S. history. And that's why I know about the U.S. Constitution. A freedom fighter, what is a good balance between fiat, gold, silver, percentage-wise? Fiat, I would only keep enough for living expenses because you have to pay your bills in fiat. Gold and silver, I think it's more personal. I have, in terms of, I have more silver, of course, than I have gold in terms of ounceage. But it's all personal. I think, some people just want to have silver, and that's fine with me. I have fiat money wise, I have more gold than silver, but it's all to do with your preference, in my opinion. Bugsy, did you read the Representative Tom Emmer of Minnesota introduced 3 bills aimed at supporting development of blockchain technologies as well as the use of cryptocurrency? No, I haven't seen that, Bugsy. Thanks for the heads up. Brenda, 100% agree the monetary system is a big modern scam, and that's why more than 90% of us still enslaved. Yeah, that's the mission of my channel. Really, I do talk about other things, but it's just to wake people up to the scam that the fiat money system is, government money is. I'm even not for governments issuing debt-free money. I think that's wrong. I don't think the government should be involved in money at all. The market should be, take care of money. And why am I so adamant about this? Well, because I lived in Brazil. I grew up there, and even though I had a good childhood, and my parents were well off enough to look after me, I could see the poverty and the all the misery that it creates. Third world countries are even worse in terms of inflation, and it's happening in the first world or in the Western world as well. Peter Oitzinger, pity Britain hasn't got someone like Enoch Powell. Yeah, Enoch Powell, he was right about a lot of things he said. Gary Croft, yeah, problem is the buffoon could be the next prime minister. Yeah, Boris Johnson. I think Boris Johnson is the kind of guy that they can, the powers that be can manipulate a lot because they've got a lot of stuff on him. So they can blackmail him, and that's why he's always there. He's not, he's got a lot of skeletons in the closet or in the cupboard. Hans Rennebuch, could you make a separate video on floating FX exchange rates versus fixed? Yeah, definitely. So I won't talk about it here. Wait for the video. I think this MRJ78, I think the Scripple case was staged. I think so too. The other thing I've heard is that the Scripple, I think his name is Sergey, I'm not sure. He worked with Christopher Steele, the Trump Russia dossier. So that's a bit, but the mainstream doesn't talk about that. It's a bit suspicious. Jacob Rees-Mogg. Well, his father was a gold bug, kind of. William Rees-Mogg. He was the editor of the Times. I know he's like what they call in England a tough upper class guy, but I actually think he makes a lot of sense. He's a good guy, but I don't think he's for sound money. He might be more for small government, but I think he'll push the same kind of fascist system we've got now, where corporations are in control of government. So that's how I see Jacob Rees-Mogg. Bugsy 2379, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Go Giants! New York Giants must win today. I used to follow American football because I was at university in the States. My favorite team still is the Miami Dolphins, mainly because when I was a little boy, I went with my dad to Miami, and he had a very good friend there who was a Dolphin fan, and we went to I think a preseason game once to watch the Miami Dolphins, and of course they did really well. Don Shula, the Dolphins were one of the best teams in the '70s, but I think they haven't really done that well. So hopefully the Giants. Who are the Giants playing, Bugsy? Platinum will correct back above gold. Over here, I'm still waiting for Greg Hunter to invite you for an interview. Well, yeah, I haven't heard from him. But for some of you who've just come on, I'm going to be like, how can I say, kind of a rep for Glint Pay. I'll write it here. You can check that online, Glint Pay. And I'll be working with them. I've met with them. They're really kosher, so to speak. They are sound money proponents, and Glint Pay will allow you to buy gold, and they store it physically in Switzerland. The vault is insured, and basically you'll be able to spend gold. And right now it's only in the EU and in the UK, but it will be coming to the US. So they say, so we're definitely coming to the US. So that's an interesting thing. What was I talking about? Why did I bring that up? But anyway, I just wanted to put that across because I spoke about this before in the live stream, and it's going to be a way to because a lot of people ask, you can't spend gold, but pretty soon you'll be able to do so with the Glint card. I've got one myself. So, and you also be able to have your money in different fiat currencies if you want. Or Bugsy, just let's see, Bugsy. Oh yeah, the reason why I talked about Glint Pay in relation to the Greg Hunter interview is that Glint Pay is also going to help me, like, because they know a lot of the how can I say, some of the YouTube channels, some of the gold companies in the US, and they're going to put me in contact with them, try to publicize my YouTube channel as well to the Sound Money crowd in the US, because they will be operating in the US as well, Glint Pay. So hopefully that will help. You know, that I'm gonna be publicizing their card, and they're gonna help me get on platforms to get new, how can I say, viewers, subscribers from the US as well. Brenda, what advice would you give to a full-time property investor in the UK and any forecast? Well, I'm not a property investor. I own my house in the UK, but as a just as a house. So, but if I was a UK property investor, my advice would be don't leverage yourself, and don't leverage yourself to the point where rising interest rates would hurt you, uh, and make it a long-term business. Even if there is a crash, you know, buy if you if you have enough money, buy a property, let's say now, not too much leverage. And if there is a crash, don't sell it, just buy, keep buying, you know, keep buying. And if you can, not leverage yourself. That's my advice. Always be, you know, never leverage too much because the interest rates can kill you. Smoke and mirrors. Good day, Monaco. Been watching you for a while. Just subscribe. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you, Smoke and Mirrors. Thanks. It's funny. I watched a movie yesterday on Netflix called Smoke and Mirrors. It was a Spanish movie, and it's about corruption in the 1990s. And this head of police in Spain stole like 10 million euros at the time. It was 1.5 billion pesetas, whatever they had. And someone asked him, well, why did you do it? And he said, well, everyone's doing it. So there you go. The corruption is pandemic or endemic. I don't know. Oh, they're playing the Texans. That's a relatively new team, I would say, the Texans. They weren't around when I was in the States. You had the Houston Oilers and the Dallas Cowboys. Neil Scowcroft, I will be getting a referral link with Glint Pay. I'm in the process of finalizing our deal. So, and my viewers will get a £5 discount by getting the Glint card from me. Eventually, there will be a link for the US viewers. They are opening up in the States. I think it's going to be before the end of the year. And yeah, so it's quite exciting. And I talked to them for 2 hours, and I did say to them, look, I think it's a good idea, the Glint card, but I also will continue to encourage my viewers to have physical gold with them. And they said, no, we agree with that, Mario. You know, so that's Glint. Can Glint be used on a desktop? I haven't. I think you can. I haven't tried the Glint app on the desktop. You might want to check it. You probably can. TNT TV, Mary, I lived in Brazil for a summer. I love the barbecue. Yeah, they're nice. It's like all you can eat barbecue places are very popular in Brazil. I miss those. We have in London some restaurants like that, Brazilian restaurants. So you pay like, I don't know how much you pay now, but let's say $10, $20, and you can eat all the meat you want. And they come with the skewers, and they cut the meat, whatever you want. And then there's a buffet or a buffet with salads, everything else. It's called churrascaria. Churrasco is barbecue. It's very good. Bugsy will be back soon. uh, my 4.5-year-old twins are up. Oh, great! You got twins. Nice. You killed two birds with one stone there, Bugsy. Over here, insured of what to do, greatest coaches in the NFL. Not sure what you mean by that. I read a good book about Vince Lombardi. He was a great NFL coach. He brought he turned the Green Bay Packers from a non team to winning the Super Bowl a few times. Vince Lombardi. Peter Oitzinger is talking about, I guess, Judge Kavanaugh. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. They're so desperate, the deep state, that they're trying anything. It's going to fail. Morning, Ben Gray. Nice to see you. The reason I'm doing a live stream early today is I went to play golf earlier this morning. We had a competition at my club. I was teeing off at 8:24. I got there just before 8 o'clock, and it's pouring today. People showed up. We weren't sure if it was going to be canceled. Some people played, but I got so wet, just being there for 5 minutes, that I just walked back home. And a lot of people as well didn't play. And I decided to do a live stream because we're going to have some people over for lunch later on. So that's why I'm a bit early, but I've been here for over an hour, and I'll stay on for a while longer so that I can cover all the time zones. Evogue Fig from Russia. Nice to see you. Over here, I like Morgan Question City coins. Is there any precious metals coin you seek to collect because of its history? Uh, I'm quite flexible. If I like a coin, and I do have some numismatic coins. One that I bought recently is a UK one. It's a 1900 shilling, which is kind of the same weight as a quarter, and it's in really good condition. I shouldn't probably be holding it. I should put it back in the little bag. And I do have some Morgan dollars. I have an 1834 half dollar as well. I've got $1 McKinley gold coin. It's like a commemorative gold. So yeah. MRJ 78. I'm a king golfer, Mara, struggling to get below 18. Any advice? Well, I've been playing since I was 15. So my lowest handicap is 3. Right now I'm off 6. Advice for you: practice your short game, your putting and your chipping. Yeah, putting and chipping, and don't And the other thing with golf, and I'll stand up and show you. When you're gonna throw something, you have balance, right? If you're gonna punch someone, you throw your weight into them and you keep your balance. It's the same thing for golf. Just try to keep your balance. Try to be in a position to hit the ball, and practice your short game. Hope that helps. Any old U.S. sitcoms you enjoy watching? Uh, when I was at university in the States, I loved Gomer Pyle and the Andy Griffith Show, but I don't watch those anymore. Gomer Pyle. Move it, Pyle. I used to like that. The Andy Griffith Show and Gomer Pyle. David Wiseman from Mallorca. No rain here. No, I know it's yeah. We had a good summer though. Morning from Michigan, David. Mario, do you like the 100-ounce silver bars? I took the plunge usually. Yeah, I have a. I think I have a 50-ounce silver bar. I'm not sure if I have a 100-ounce one. This is a 2.1 kilo. It's a rough bar, but I bought it from a gold dealer, and it's got the assay on it and everything. So this would be just about 70 ounces. So it's quite heavy. It's a good paperweight for now. It might hopefully will be a lot more valuable in the future. I think it will. So I do like 100-ounce silver bars. Do you think silver will start to go up this week? Uh, I hope so, but you never know. I mean, silver last week did quite well. I don't know if you noticed all my videos last week, the early market report. I noticed that every day the low was higher. So, yeah. And I checked the COT report, the commitment of trader report, and golden, the commercials are continuing to get long, gold and silver. So that's a good sign. Yeah, we might have to wait until after the Fed. It's on the 26th. I think it's on Wednesday. I'm not sure if they're meeting for 2 days. Let me see exactly when they're going to raise. FOMC meeting 2000 September. So yeah, they start meeting on Tuesday, and they'll raise rates on Wednesday. So yeah, maybe gold and silver are going to stay a little bit under pressure still the next few days, but they could rise after the Fed decision on Wednesday. Good morning, John Jeffries. I do speak Portuguese. Yeah, it's my mother tongue. Brazilian Portuguese. The Portuguese from Portugal is quite different. It's a little bit like American English and English from England. And a lot of the words that they use, the Portuguese will use words that I know, recognize, but they mean completely something completely different in Portugal. Over here, Don Shula, greatest coach in the NFL. Yeah, he was a good one. We got a few people from Brazil here. Nara Silva, Bruno Rodriguez. SAC Media One. I notice you avoid talking about platinum. Do you not think it's a good purchase? I don't avoid platinum. It's just that I don't really follow it. I'm not really interested in platinum. So, but it's probably okay right now. It's been hammered down quite a bit. And I remember back about 10, 11 years ago, platinum actually got up to above $2,000 an ounce when gold was under 1,000. So, yeah, longer term, it could be massively undervalued. But platinum is used a lot for catalytic converters for cars. But now with electric cars becoming more popular, it might lose some of its uses. But yeah, palladium. Yeah, palladium is one of the precious metals as well. It has done well. Palladium is kind of becoming like a substitute for platinum in jewelry, I think. So we've got a few people from Brazil here. What I would say about Brazil right now is to keep an eye on the currency there. The key level is 420. I think we closed about 408, but I don't think it looks good for the Brazilian currency. So if you are in Brazil, I guess you have dollars, some dollars and precious metals if you can, and cryptocurrencies. Water and food should be an investment. So that's right. Well, yeah, I don't really get too much into the prepping. I try to stick to what I know. There's a lot of channels out there who will cover that. Silver is also, colloidal silver is quite interesting as well for your health. I haven't, got any colloidal silver, but a few years ago I bought some. So how are the cryptocurrencies doing right now? Well, Bitcoin is near 6,775. So they're up a bit right now. The cryptocurrencies they're doing quite well. Who else have we got here? Over here, wonder which coin minted for circulation today has the most precious metals in it. Well, the thing is, there are no gold coins in circulation today. I think what they mean when they say the coin is in circulation is that it's used to, as money. But I would say the Mexican Libertad, that's about 1.2 ounces of gold. So that's a big one. I would say the Mexican Libertad. Somnium, hi Somnium, nice to see you here. Uh, any thoughts on V chain? No, I'm sorry, I haven't really looked into that, to be honest. I can't. It's difficult to keep track of everything out there. MRJI, my girlfriend swears by colloidal silver, especially if you're feeling sick. Yeah, I think it's a good thing, colloidal silver. Over here, has the U.S. tariffs had an effect on the Baltic Dry Index? Yeah, they. I haven't really looked closely at that, but I know of the Baltic Index, the BIFEX Baltic. There. I mean, my father used to be in the shipping business, and he had a friend who was also in the shipping business. I went to his office a few times, and he used to sit in front of. He had a screen, and he used to trade the BIFEX futures, Baltic Index. But I haven't really. It could probably have an impact because it could have an impact if the U.S. exports a lot of grains. If China were to put tariffs on that, that could decrease the amount of grains shipped, so it could hurt the index. Ben Gray, my ex-girlfriend lives in Juiz de Fora. That's in the state of Rio de Janeiro. Yeah. Freedom fighter. I'm a bit shaky of Bitcoin because web goes down, so does Bitcoin. Uh, Actually, technically, Bitcoin won't go down if the web goes down, but so would your bank account. Your electronic banking account would go down. But Bitcoin, if you have the private key, you don't keep it on an exchange, it won't disappear. When the internet comes back up, you'll be able to access it. But so it will be the same, I do most of my banking now, my NatWest account online. So if the internet went down, that would go down as well. So it's not any different. The highest purity gold coin ever used in circulation was the Austrian ducat. Was it 99%, Gary? I would say that's not a great, not very practical because very pure gold you lose a lot of the gold through wear and tear. And that's why there's usually an alloy with the gold to make it harder, and because I'm sure the Austrian mint had to keep bringing the coins in people had to keep bringing them in because you lose the gold content. 958, well, it might be okay, 958, but I heard that like the rich Chinese, they like 24 karat jewelry because it's a sign of status. And why is that? Why is it different? Because it shows that you're so rich that you don't care that you lose some of the gold every year from that 24 karat gold jewelry. I understand that many dealers do not trust large bars, tungstens, Franklin, China. Yeah, yeah, you've got to be careful with the large bars, with the tungsten, and even smaller bars, the 100-gram bars and 50-gram bars. You need to be really careful. Go to a reputable dealer, but even then, it's not guaranteed because they might have been fooled. So, what else? Let me have a look here at the headlines, see what's going on. The main thing Zero Hedge is talking about is the Kavanaugh assault case. What else? December rate hike? Probably, yeah. I think the Fed has. I haven't looked at the probabilities yet, but yeah, definitely. I think even, especially if the Republicans do well in the midterms, I think it will give Trump more. Because I think one of the reasons the Fed is raising rates is because chefs may just watch your video on. Yeah, I think one of the reasons the Fed is hiking rates is because the Congress and the Trump administration, they've pumped so much deficit into the economy with the tax cuts. And by the way, I like no taxes, but if you're going to have big government and you cut taxes and you don't cut the spending, that's bad. So I think that's why the Fed's raising rates, because if they weren't raising rates, the economy would be overheating massively. I think the stock market would be a lot higher. Am I saying that's, and I'm just talking about how it works right now. I know that there's millions and millions, or 95 million people who are out of the workforce, and that the unemployment numbers are bogus. But this is what the Fed looks at. Sodium V-Chain is working on counterfeit prevention in China, backed by the Chinese government. All right. Abraham Chaco, we Indians have largest family gold. We are safe. Yeah, the Indians, it's a tradition, owning gold. They own it as jewelry or whatever. It's probably the country that has the most gold, unofficial gold. Probably not TNT TV. I think they're getting to a point where we could be, because you look at the charts of recessions and crashes, they usually coincide with the top in interest rates. Once you get to a level where and it triggers it, and I think we're getting to that level, even though we're only at 1.75 to 2%. And the reason why we might be getting to that point, even though rates are low, is because they stayed at zero and bought did a lot of QE for so long that now instead of having to get to 5, 6, or 7, we just need to get it to 2, and they have no idea. They're driving blind. Uh, they don't know. Their guess is as good as ours. So yeah, that could trigger it. Chef's Maid. Yeah, I think Theresa May will. I will doesn't have a bright future. I think she's screwed up. The Brexit. I think it probably was done on purpose. That's what they really wanted. They didn't want it to go through smoothly because the establishment doesn't want the UK leaving. So actually, she's done a good job for them, not for the Brexiteers. John Jeffries, how do you split a silver dollar into pieces of 8? Well, I guess with I don't know, you just maybe a knife or some tools. You could split it into pieces of 8. I think in the past they used to have the lines where you could do it, but nowadays it's easier. You just get quarters or dimes. We got someone here. Can't read that. The other thing that's going on in the UK, I can see here in the Guardian, it says ministers warn harder EU exit risks, breaking up UK. There's also even talk about if there is a snap election in the general election, that if Labour wins, they might call for a second referendum. So James Andrew with a pair of long arm bolt cutters has no fillings, just a cut. Yeah, I didn't know. I'm not really a great DIY guy. Yeah, that's how you cut up, divide a dollar into pieces of 8. Long arm bolt cutters. So yeah, feel free to ask any more questions about the markets, precious metals. Um, yeah, this was interesting. Swiss crypto startup I do announces token tied to the price of gold. Well, yeah, tied to the price of gold. That really mean that they hold the gold? I'm not sure about that. That's it could be. They could have physical gold. I wouldn't want to. If you really want gold, you buy the physical, or you buy some, part of a deal where they hold the physical for you, but you need to trust them. What about, let's have a look at Silver Doctors, what they're saying this morning. Well, they're talking a lot about what gold did this week. They did hammer it down a lot on Friday. And I watched that, and I think it was to do more with the British pound. They're trying to defend the pound. Chef's Maid. Are many people in the UK buying silver? I don't think so. I mean, very few. It's only a small minority, like us, the gold bugs, and that are into silver. It's not a huge thing. I mean, if you showed someone a silver coin, they wouldn't even know. They would probably think it was a normal coin. They wouldn't even know it was silver. Hi, S. Walker. Nice to see you here. What kind of treats do you feed Billy? Well, he's got a bad eyes. He's got like a dry eye. He's got a lack of tears. His tear duct doesn't work very well. So I have to put some stuff in his eyes every day. And after I do that, I give him like a dentist sticks, which is good for his eyes, and he likes that. And I give him after that because then he doesn't mind having his eyes done. So yeah, dentist sticks. Sometimes the schmackos, the meaty schmackos. Uh, Oil Baron T. Boone Pickens got out of oil and bought up a bunch of water rights and aquifers in U.S. Yeah, I mean, I think Jim Rickards is involved in the water business. I think his son is involved in it as well, and that I think that's going to be a problem. Pure water, you know, clean water in the future. And one of the countries that has an abundance of clean water, guess which country that is? Russia. Is it any wonder that the West is so anti-Russian? Because they want to keep control of it. It's not that bad, chef's mate. I put the ointment every day, and it's fine. But his eyes can get a little bit gunky, so to speak. Slovakia has lots of fresh water. All right. So, real estate in London is, especially central London, starting to come off. Yeah, and interest rates are starting to go up in the UK. So not great. I heard the in Australia is the same thing. People are having a tough time refinance in Australia, and rates are going up in Australia as well. And the other thing that's going on in Australia, there's a big movement in Australia to try to break up the banks, to do an Australian Glass-Steagall, so to speak. And that bill has come on a few times in Parliament there, and it's been struck down. But there is a lot of public demand for it. But I've tweeted to some of my viewers who are in Australia. They say it's not very encouraging because, the politicians are still bought and paid for in Australia, unfortunately. Uh, Paul McCartney. No, I don't. I'm not talk. I don't talk about those things here. This is more of a, you know, s- speculation. This is more about markets. I'm not going to talk about whether Paul McCartney really died. Over here, do I trust Zero Hedge? Well, I think they're a bit clickbaity. Uh, they're different writers there. They publish stuff from other people, from other websites. At least they give a contrarian, a non-establishment view. That's why I like to look at them. I also have a look sometimes at the FT and people like that to see what they're thinking. Sonium says the four big banks rule in Australia. Yeah, I mean, I think they're ruling everywhere, unfortunately, for now. And that's why, I make my videos. That's why I do my live streams. The main mission for my channel is to expose uh, not the banks per se, but the system that allows the bankers to rule over people. The old saying that the Rothschild had back in the 19th century, allow me to control the issuance of money, and I care not who makes the rules. I think that's that's happening today, and we need to educate people about how the fiat money system allows that to happen. How we need to get money out of government. Money should be a market, instrument. Yeah, Chef's Maid says Here in the US, many people do not know what silver is either. Yeah, I've seen Mark Dice. I don't know if any of you know who Mark Dice is. You probably do. He's done experiments with gold coins, silver bars. He's offered people free gold bars, no, free silver bars, and or a Snickers bar, and they'd rather have the Snickers bar. Let's fix it. You're the man, Mario. Great content. Love your video. Oh, thanks. Uh, yeah, it's good to get the feedback to know that I'm doing the right thing. uh, Many people are working off the books here in the US. How does that look on the economic numbers? Well, it basically doesn't give really a picture of the real economy. The same thing happens a lot in Italy. The Creature from Jekyll Island is a good book. Yeah, it's a good read as well. I recommend Eustace Mullins books as well. Eustace Mullins. MRJ 78. Amara, I occasionally invest in whiskey. Investing in fine drinks is a bit of a specialist market, but fun. It's funny. Yeah, funny you should say that. When I worked in the city, it was probably 2004 or 5. A few of my colleagues at work came up to me and the guy I worked with and said, "Oh, do you guys want to invest in some wine?" And I did. And 8 months later, I put like a 3,000 pounds, I think, and 8 months later it doubled. So I have a good experience, and I think it was you can invest in bonded wine. It was Rothschild wine actually I invested in, and so I made a good profit on that. But I haven't really followed that market so much. But you're right, and you even if the market doesn't do very well, you can always drink it, which is not a bad thing. Chef's Mate, I saw you on Rethinking the Dollar. Yeah, I like Mike. He's a clever guy. He's good. Yeah, I like his channel. Patty Beck, good morning, Mary. I'm a bit late. Had a few problems to sort out. Got another 2 sovereigns yesterday. Oh, great. Sovereigns are great coins. Freedom Fighter. Mario, how high of a premium of a 1 ounce silver coin is a good price, and how high is too much? Well, I would recommend that you keep an eye on it, because the premiums change. Look at different dealers. So I couldn't tell you, what a good premium. A 5% premium might be good if everyone's at 10%, right? But it just depends on what the premiums are doing. Do you believe the Fed believes closed doors, they have been successful in prolonging their economic collapse 10 years? I think the Fed, they're driving, blind, and they're hoping, they're crossing their fingers, I think. Or maybe not. I mean, maybe this is what they want, pump up everything and then bring it down, and so their friends can accumulate cheap assets. It's difficult to say. I would be leaning more towards that if there is a collapse, that's probably they've done their job well, because that's what they've done since the Fed started. You've got these booms and busts. Hi, Renee. Nice to see you. Winecoin. Chef's Mate, how's the economy in the UK? Are many out of work? I think it's very similar to the US, where people get jobs, but the jobs don't pay much, don't give any benefits, don't give you any insurance, and people have several jobs. They have to. Yeah, that's how it is. Um, so the economy is not doing great in the UK. You go down the main street, or high street as they call it in the UK, all the small shops. There's small shops coming up, but then they only last about 18 months to two years, and then they close down. So yeah, I would say the economy isn't doing great in the UK either. The only sector that does well in the UK is the City of London and the still the property market. And builders do quite well for now because property prices are still really high. So a lot of people who have smaller houses, instead of moving to bigger houses, they try to extend the houses. So yeah, that kind of business still don't doing well. I just on morning, man. I have to watch video later, 7 a.m. here. No problem. Uh, Yeah, a new referendum would dilute the system and the voice of the people. But I personally think politics is just a theater, is just to pretend that people are actually in charge of their destiny. So that's why I never really vote. I don't. I'm quite cynical about that, I guess. So I think I'm gonna call it a day because we're coming up to almost 2 hours here. I've been for an hour and 40 minutes. So I thank everyone who participated, who showed up, and yeah, have a great rest of the weekend. And I'll probably oh, I wanted to say tomorrow. I'm gonna be out early, so I'll probably do my video in the afternoon. So it won't be like an early market report, but I will definitely make a video tomorrow. It will just be later. Okay. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.